Well, hello there, YouTube. This is Mr. Gibson Guy. Welcome to the channel. Today I'm doing a two-part video, and it's going to be half of it an unboxing video, and the other half is a how-to video. But it's not how to unbox something. It's just the two parts of it. And I'll be moving the camera around a little bit here, but start out in this position. This is under the category of photography again for both parts, but it could be for other things too, in the second part especially. If you take a look around, you see that I have a significant collection of cameras that I have put together over the last few years. My photography goes back to the 1970s when I got my first Minolta 35mm and XG7 when it first came out in '77. But I go way back, and I've stayed with, I have a digital cam, several digital cameras. I use them on my videos and stuff like that. But my videos are all about film cameras, classic cameras, vintage cameras, all the stuff that was great and reminds me of when my voice worked better than it does now, when I stopped doing my continual Clint Eastwood impersonation. But let's have a look at here what we got. I think most of you have figured out, if you're experienced in film photography, that generally cameras came with a 50mm lens, and in that generally you had three choices, sometimes two, but usually three, and that is you had your basic entry-level lens, which might have been an f2, 50mm f2, or a 50mm f1.8, or 50mm f1.7, and then you had your step-up lens, which is much less common on the market, but you can find them, and those don't do the f2, f1.8, f1.4 choices. They were all f1.4, except I think one company made an f1.5. I can't remember where that is, but I just saw that recently. But that's a one-off kind of a thing. You won't see it very often. But the 50mm f1.4 was a big step up into where professionals would be using a lens like that, and it cost at the time a good deal more than your basic lens. And it was like, in those days, like $30 was the price of the basic lens, 1.8 or 1.7, maybe even down in the 20s for the f2, or some of them were high, like the Nikors. But the f1.4s were all over 100, looking at like 120, 150 range. And then some of the companies, if they were really fancy, they would also have a 50mm f1.2. And I have seen them on videos, and I've seen them in advertising when the camera companies used to put them in their advertising oftentimes, but I don't think that I've ever seen a 50mm f1.2 in person, not up close and personal. I did see one, I think it was a Minolta maybe, a Rokkor, on eBay, but it was several $100s, and I wasn't that committed to getting to finally see an f1.2. So the f1.8 or the f1.7, depending on which manufacturer, are the common 50mm lenses that we would use. But when you start getting a collection, then I start getting some hit and miss things where sometimes I buy a Canon camera or a Nikon camera or Minolta camera or something, and it had the 1.4 on it. And sometimes I would buy buy the camera, the lens, a bag, an extra zoom lens or something like that, and I would sell all the stuff off but keep the 1.4 because that was pretty special. And just going off the top of my head, I don't have any in the contacts mount. I have one Nikkor 50mm f1.4, one Canon FD 50mm f1.4, one Pentax, even though I only have three Pentax cameras, one Pentax in a 50mm f1.4, and three Rocors from Minolta in 50mm 1.4 and one 58mm f1.4 from Rocor MC. What you didn't hear there was an Olympus, because all of my Olympus 50s, and I have several of them, and I've had bought and sold several more, all my Olympus 50s are f1.8. They never messed with the f2, and the whole idea behind the Olympus cameras were that they were small, compact, and lighter weight, and that was their Olympus's big step into the market, was that they made everybody make smaller cameras except Canon. And much of my camera shopping, especially early on, I did buying stuff from Goodwill Finds, which was a really good way to get some very good stuff that was surprisingly reasonably inexpensive. And they started catching on that people were going crazy over this, so they started hiring people that knew what they were doing, and they started putting realistic price tags on stuff. But they have sales from time to time. You could get some deals on stuff, but you had to know what you were doing and watch. And I had a lot of stuff that I was watching for 5 or 6 months, and then all of a sudden it would hit the right price, and I'd go to buy it, and somebody just bought it. But the somehow, and I cannot figure this out, unless it has to do with the mob and Goodwill Enterprises, I don't know, but for example, on Shop Goodwill, which is what Goodwill Finds has become, it's now under S instead of G. Shop Goodwill, a week or so ago, I was leafing through finished sales, and I came across one that had just finished. And this will mean something to you if you're experienced in film photography. There was a 200mm Nikkor EDIF f2, not an f2.8, an f2 lens from, it have to be from the 1980s, and pre-autofocus. It was the AIS EDIF, extra low dispersion internal focusing. So all fancy lens, gold stripe around it. It ended up selling for $1,100. All right, so yeah, that sounds about right. $1,100. That was people bidding on it. Actually, it was probably worth a bit more than that. Wasn't a super bargain price, but the point of it is, to me, Goodwill sells stuff which is donated to them. Who donates a $1,500 lens to Goodwill? And I've seen quite a bit of stuff like this. Just I know I saw a Canon lens on there in this same overlook that I did, and it sold for $700 something, and it was worth it. I think it was a 15mm or something. It's a very unusual lens. That's just off the top of my head. I could have gotten it mixed up, but they get stuff like that. Now, if, especially now, since they've changed over, and it's now all auction. There is no, well, there is, if stuff goes up for auction numerous times and nobody ever bids on it, after I don't know, I guess 2 or 3 times through the mill, and nobody wants it, then they'll put it at the very back of the section, and that's, if you go to the end of the line, that's where you find stuff that you can just buy outright of $7. But of course the stuff that you can buy is the stuff that nobody wanted. But you can still buy some stuff like that. I checked the last few days. I looked up Canon. They had 700 something listings that were current, and this is with every week clearing stuff out constantly because it goes up on auction and they sell it for whatever the bids are. But there's a whole bunch of stuff that is available there, and then you have to understand, and I've been figuring this out, the bidding process. The stuff that I bought initially from Goodwill Finds on this auction stuff is stuff that I looked through, nobody bid on it, I saw value in it, and I didn't think anybody else did, so I put down the minimum bid, and I didn't even go to the auction. I get an email the next day that says, you won, and I bought 3 or 4 items like that before I figured it out. But let me do some unboxing here. See if I can do some unbox standing up. All right, there's a little knife here. And I guess I could do a contest right now. Guess what do you think is in this lensed size box? Think about what I was talking about already, what I have 1 of, or 2 of, or 3 of, or none of the above. And that would give us a hint. Let's see. I've enjoyed opening a lot of stuff from Goodwill because they have their helpers that help them box stuff up, and boy, do they go crazy on the tape. All right, pat it there. Let's see. Yep, whole lot of taping going on. This turns out being messed up and unusable, which I have gotten before from them, then I'll just shut this tape off and delete it. But if you're watching this, then you know this came out okay. And as I get through it, it's looking more and more okay. Gotta keep my arms up so that they're on camera. Alright, it doesn't have the Olympus lens cap. It's got a generic one. You see more and more though, it's harder and harder to find the generic lens. They're the original Olympus lens caps. And f2.4. No, I'm kidding, I just made that up. No rear cap, but rear element looks good. Front element looks good. You see through it? Here it is. 50mm f1.4 Zuiko. Yes. Not a 58. I should get up my Geiger counter and check it, but I know that it's not radioactive. Alright. Focus works. Aperture works. Oh, let's see, they get the button for this. I don't know if you can see that or not. Can you see that? We're getting it? Yes. The Olympus have a depth of field preview button on the lens, which everybody should do. That's so intelligent. And the lens release also on the lens. This even the part that usually has a lot of grimy stuff on it is very clean looking here. And where would you put a 50mm f1.4 Zuiko? I would say on an f4 titanium would be the best place to have it. Oh, the smooth focusing. Let's see, minimum focus is right here. Right around here somewhere. Minimum focusing distance. Okay, so now I have my 50mm f1.4 Zuiko Olympus lens on an OM4 Ti. So now we've done the unboxing. Let's go to the how-to. And this should be interesting, I think. Here we go. Gotta turn this around and do this from distance my cord will reach. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now let's move in, not out, in. And this is going to be how to win the auction on Goodwill, from Shop Goodwill. Okay, now I think that should probably work for you. You can see the whole screen. Now I have to do this from underneath here. If I can get in here. So this is Shop Goodwill, and this is just it. Mine opens up on the vintage camera page. Here's how I do it. You go to the search up here, and you put in OLYMPUS. That's for the example. We'll search here, and it says showing 1 through 40 of 377 entries. This is 377 Olympus products that they have, and that includes pearl recorders and video cameras, and, digital cameras, all that sort of stuff. But we're looking for, sometimes you get them mixed up too. Like they put a Canon EOS Rebel with an Olympus stylus, okay, thrown in. So you get mixed groups here sometimes too. But I'm looking for regular 35mm film stuff. All right, should we go with that one? Let's look down a little bit. Yeah, I think we'll go with that one, because there's an XA2 or XA1. That's a valuable one. They get some money for those. Now, here's an Olympus T20 flash unit. I have one of these. I bid on another one, but I didn't win it just the other day. But it's a good flash unit, and you see they give you the pictures of them. They automatically scroll, or you can take it out yourself and then go with your arrows. This one's got some wood stuff on the back and the sides. I don't know what in the world that's for. But if for flash, you want to take a look here and see if this foot here is still working or if it's been cracked off on one side and the thing will pop out. So you don't want to get that. Well, okay, that's what it's supposed to be. Yeah, I got it. Okay, so I'm going to go out of this. I'm not going to do too much stuff here. So let's get out of here. Next to the picture, you see this empty heart. If you see something that you're interested in, you go through and you add it to your favorite. And now this takes us to the page for this particular item. See, here it is. And this is on auction, finished today. So it gives us a time left of 9 hours and 32 minutes. And when that gets down to the low range, then it'll give you minutes and seconds. And you can update it all the time. Like you just hit update, see at 9 hours, 32 minutes, 9 hours, 30 minutes. That's how long it's been off since we changed it. And what you do is they have a current price. This happens to be with 0 bids. Current price is this. And I'm going to make sure I don't buy that one. So I don't want to get that because it's got that wood stuff on it, messing it up. Probably got a crack in it it's covering. But you have a current price, and in your minimum bid amount, it says the same thing because there hasn't been a bid. But the bids are in dollar increments generally. So from here, this is still the same thing. But if you put down your first bid, it'll be $12.99. Then the next person who bids is going to put down $13.99. And then the next person $14.99. And then what you do is you take it up to like the last 2 or 3 seconds, and you can do this, set your maximum bid. Now let's say it's $12.99. If I say, all right, I'm willing to go 13, I'm willing to go $15, which is really $14.99. Oh, I just put it in. I'll put in 15, see how that goes. That's my maximum bid. And then I do this to place my bid. But if you're right at the end and somebody else bids, they can outbid you. But if you say, well, I'm willing to go $15 or I'm willing to go $20 because I really want to get this messed up T20 flash, then you can place, I'll go to $20. Now, if you do it right at the very end, so the person just has a second to make a bid. So if they put down $13.99 or $14.99, but you put down $15, it's going to take you, and you are going to win, and they're not going to be able to put in another one before the time runs out. And that's how I got this Olympus lens here, was that I bid it. The high bid was $36. I should have put $37, but I really wanted to get it because I didn't have the 1.4 in the Olympus. So I put in my maximum of $44. My maximum bid. But the person who jumped in and tried to buy it put in $38 or $37. Yeah, $37. Just did that, and my bid was higher. So bought it at $38 for me. I said I would do up to $44, but to be $1 higher than the next highest bid was only $38. So it didn't charge me the full 44 that I had put down there. It said, oh, you're only taking one more dollar. It was $38. So that's how I got that. And that's the secret of this. Now the other thing is when you can place a bid, or you can place your maximum bid. If you fill that in, it does maximum bid. But it will take it, record it for a fraction of a second, and then it will pop up with another screen. Are you sure you want to do this? And I agree to pay, and you hit it. And until you hit that second screen and approve it, it's not going to happen. I told you I was looking at one of those before that also came with 2 Olympus lenses, and it was going for a really reasonable price. I don't know, 20 bucks or something for a T20 and 2 Olympus lenses, a 135 and a 50 millimeter f3.5 macro lens. So I kind of want to get this, but I had already bought the other Olympus lens the night before. So I was like, oh, do I really want to do this? So I got the highest bid, but I didn't hit the yes, I will pay button yet. I kind of dawdled on that one. And then when I hit it, it said too late, the sale's over. You missed it. So you can use that place my bid with setting your maximum bid, because I find, if the sale is 2 days away or a week away or 6 hours away, don't bid. Don't even let anybody know that you're interested. It says how many bids there are, and you can find out how many people are voting or bidding on it by searching that. But don't bother getting in on the bid until you're under 5 seconds. That's the whole time for stuff to go on. Somebody else announces they are there, meaning, oh, great. So that's my advice on that. You can look up Shop Goodwill, and then you see how to do the bids. And, I would go through. What I do is, I started this, take my calendar, and I go through and I write what's coming up for the week. I check Nikons, I check Canons, I check Olympus, I check Mamiyas, anything that I might be interested in. And I know, the week ahead. This was kind of like getting to the end of this week. Here we are, Monday. I don't have anything down here, so I haven't researched and put anything down. But it's kind of interesting, if you don't mind scrolling through bunches of camera equipment. The part that is a pain is that you keep looking at stuff that, oh, come on, I don't want that stuff. That's that digital stuff. I don't need that. But you find all kinds of stuff. And the 35 millimeter stuff, or the medium format stuff, is real competitive prices, not giveaways. They're up there close to what the values are, and then people start going higher and higher from there. But what the newer stuff, the digital stuff, is like, man, it's gonna get down into single digits or 2 digits, $10, $15, stuff like that. So much for the newer stuff. The older stuff sells for much higher prices. So those are ways you might want to entertain yourself, looking around at gear that you have never seen before, and you might want to buy. Maybe get a kick out of doing a few auctions and see what happens when you win one, and you start to figure out how to work the system so you can get your best bet. I paid $38 plus some shipping, but if I get a 50 millimeter Zuiko f1.4, then I consider that's a pretty decent deal. So that's my information about that for you. And I hope you found this video useful. I know it's been kind of long, but we did a two-part there. And so leave a comment. Give me a comment if you know. Tell me about your experiences. I buy stuff on eBay. I buy stuff on Mercari. You buy stuff all over where you can find it. Haven't really found anything worthwhile on Etsy yet, but I'm still looking around. But I got a lot of stuff, so start getting a look like that. There's the Olympus up there, up at the top. And then lenses and lenses and lenses and lenses all over the place. All right, until next time, this is Mr. Gibson Guy, and I'll talk to you on the next one.